Welcome back again, everyone, to the Word Traction Network. This is Sins of the Fathers, Order of Vitéz. Sins of the Fathers. We're going to talk a little bit about Sebastian Gorka, who is a special, very special, double secret special assistant to the president. In that category of assistants, much like your friend Natalie Hart. They're very special assistants and sometimes have, in this administration, very special relationships with the principal. The Order of Vitéz is an award of significance in Hungarian lore, military or paramilitary lore. And yeah, it's a good place to start. It kind of paints the picture of the special kind of people we're dealing with. This this pin signifying acknowledgement of this order that began in the 20s or 30s in Hungary, which was at that point you could two things running at the same time. You can be an anti-communist, but you can certainly be a fascist. And then all the other sprinkles that go in that bucket and change their complexion over time in the 100 years that have elapsed since then. There was a little thing called World War II that happened in the interim, and some proud German patriots, known not affectionately as the Nazi Party. Now, fascism versus Nazism versus socialism versus communism. We're not going to go. We're not going to get to strictly definitional here. What it means is that Sebastian's daddy was awarded the pin. Sebastian wore that same pin, the Order of Vitéz pin, in Trump's first inauguration. Now, he played Sebastian, the child, not the father, played a part in 1.0 for a little while. He got in a little trouble because he was carrying an unregistered firearm through through an airport in Washington, D.C., Reagan International. And so that's a no-no. Now, you could think about this whole group of people. Donald Trump, if he was inclined to, he would be the kind of guy that would berate security officials, say, "Do you know who I am?" I mean, that's the typical, the male version of the Karen is the "Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're talking to?" guy, and that the Trump administration is filled with those kind of people. Sebastian Gorka then only spent part of a year. He was allied with the administration. There are a lot of shadowy figures that go in and out of the White House as, if not special advisors, as informal advisors, as homeboys, homegirls, many homegirls, and others that go through and fluff the president at various times throughout his day. Sebastian Gorka has a little bit more of a more formal role in Trump 2.0, where he's officially part of the national security apparatus, and he is a special assistant to the president. But there is no confirmation that he has had proper background vetting. That might be important. People have been hypothesizing on this here platform on Substack. Is Natalie Hart a compromised person or an agent of a foreign government? We don't know that. We don't know that she is or she isn't. Sebastian Gorka, we know a little bit more about him. Would it be convenient if you were, let's just make up a hypothetical leader of a state security apparatus. We'll just call him Vladimir. You're busy at home. You've got dates. You've got potluck. You've got cookouts. More cookouts than normal in the fictional town of Moscow recently. But you got shit to do. You're trying to bring the Soviet Union, if that's what we're talking about fictitiously or not, back into a period of glory not seen since Peter the Great, perhaps, an actual empire. And so you're busy as shit. You're going to Ibiza if the season's right. You're spending some time, as I documented, in sort of in a in a parody, but not quite, because there were actually feet on the ground with eyes open for Vladimir Putin in the ABC Islands. Which one of that was that? In Aruba, right? Yeah, Bonaire, Curacao. Yeah, Aruba. Watching when the U.S. forces were doing their Venezuelan operation, an operation that is not over yet because Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are continuing to kill innocent non-combatants floating in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific as well. To this day, probably has happened on this very day, and we haven't heard about it yet. But these things will all come to light when intrepid members of the uh, uh, journalistic class and or the ICC dig deeper at some time in the future. There's no statute of limitations problems here. Those are forever crimes. So that's one positive element to that. ICC continues to be under assault. They are deplatforming, is a nice way to put. The Trump administration is taking away travel, visas for everybody that has ever spelled ICC correctly in a crossword puzzle since the beginning of time. They are losing their security clearance. They are no longer, they are unbanked effectively. Their credit ratings have been destroyed, all because of the petulance of Donald J. Trump and Marco Rubio. The U.S. government, just flashing back over to Havana, we have doubled down again this very week. And the best way to deal with the severe hunger in Cuba, with the consent of some of the Cuban expats that live in Miami, that dined in many of the same restaurants that I did over the decades, that they're like, okay, sir, we trust you, to Donald Trump and presumably little Marco, that the antidote to that particular situation is to starve the starving people even more. I've done a lot of reading over my life, and I've never heard where that particular type of program has delivered results. And there are problems. Venezuela, Trump keeps taking 90% of the oil revenues of the Venezuelan people, the country. They don't belong to Delcy Rodriguez, Nasty Nick Maduro, or otherwise. This is the property of the Venezuelan proud, beautiful people from Venezuela, and he's continuing to pilfer it on a daily basis. Not so great. So back to Mr. Gorka. The fact that he showed up at the first inauguration with this pin, which is essentially a Nazi fraternity organization, a Nazi appreciation pin, because that's the affinity that this group had. Vitéz was a Nazi affinity group who was in a love affair with the Nazis as they came to power, and continued to be aligned with extremists all the way along their entire existence. So what made him decide to wear that pin? Was there a sense of impunity because he was Trump's homeboy and is Trump's homeboy? I don't know. Why do people do what they do? It's also useful for, again, we'll call the guy Vladimir again. If he needs hands available on a daily basis in and around the White House to carry out his ongoing control of a senior American leader that sleeps in the White House, not underneath it, not in a bunker yet. It was nice to see Melania come back. I can't do the um, I am Melania. I heard you miss me. I came back. That I can't. I don't do that kind of voice stuff. But it's kind of fun. I was this morning. I was trying to connect dots with who amongst the upper echelon in the White House, with Stephen Miller screaming about the failure of black and brown people, even ones that were born here generations ago, to assimilate into the United States system of government and norms, whatever that means to Stephen Miller, child of Jewish parents, who is, I'm sure, delivering them a sense of glory every single day that he serves and speaks on Fox News. Sebastian is a handy guy to have around because he did have some training in intelligence more generally in the UK. He was born in Hungary, moved to the UK, and then returned to Hungary. And he was of counsel to Viktor Orban, but a lot of years ago. But you can see as things evolved in Orban's position when he was in power and then out and then came back as president. He was not. There are no documented meetings between Fat Victor and Sebastian Gorka, but they run in the same circles, and there's an ideological alignment. There are a lot of folks in that part of the world that were affected by if they came up and they were old like me, then 50s, 60s, 70s, Cold War, the Soviet Union was then in charge of a wide swath of Eastern Europe. It wasn't just Hungary and Bulgaria and Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, on and on and on. What is now Belarus, and then Estonia. I said Estonia. Anyway, you get the idea. The Russian, the Iron Curtain, the evil empire, and that of course has evolved over time. And Vladimir Putin is trying to pull that back together. It's useful to have apparatchiks available to you on call 24/7, highly placed in the White House. I mean, it's good to have the top of the heap, but that man. Let's imagine a case where the asset is the most senior leader in a government, and that asset is also a declining asset, physically, mentally, emotionally, as Natalie's letters lead us to understand. That person needs support, but there also has to be somebody that can blow the whistle and tell the boss out east that it may be time to make a change. So that's very helpful. The sins of the fathers, of course, in the title of this here little production, is Gorka's dad and Trump's dad. Two perfectly noteworthy. Well, these are men that have been reported on widely. Trump's dad, Fred, was clearly. I mean, if you can read the behavioral health index on Donald Trump, the way that he deals with women, minorities, other people more generally, and as a a self-obsessed, xenophobe, nutcase. That Fred made that. Don't know anything, don't know too much about the mother, not that interested. Fred did enough damage, and Fred was the major influence. And if that influence, Fred, when he was a younger man, used to get out quite a bit in New York, and he went to some places where the attire, the recommended attire, was a white robe and a white hood. Fun picnic events held by the Ku Klux Klan in New York, because New York, as a hub of immigration, was always a target of the Klan. People think of the Klan in the good old days as more of a Southern white extremist organization, but there's plenty of it. I'm in Boston. I'm a little bit further north, but I'm a Boston kid. Boston, people think of it as a bastion of progressive politics, which it is today, but it's also was the bastion of forced busing of little black kids into rough white neighborhoods, notably South Boston, and Charlestown and other places like that, and vice versa. And that is not what you would call a progressive moment of glory. But this is a deeply troubled country with a horrible record on race. And in case you didn't notice, it ain't getting better. So the sins of the fathers, what Trump learned about racial DEI and equality, he learned at the hand of somebody who at least thought of the Klan as sort of a connected affinity partner of his in helping him keep the black and brown people out of the real estate that he was building, out of the apartments and the homes, and keeping it, his record on how he treated Jewish purchasers and renters is more mixed. I mean, it's mixed in a way that's fucking horrible. But much like Donald Trump, his father had the things that he said, his father, who I don't know if his dad drank before or after Fred Jr., I think, died of alcoholism, Donald's older brother. But in looser moments, Fred, the father, and Donald have made comments about Jews in New York more generally. About Trump's most famous one is from the late 70s, was that if I'm going to have anybody counting my money, I want guys wearing beanies, is how he referred to presumably Jewish accountants. Um, and his father came out with much more colorful language that I'll skip over, but uh, uh, suffice to say, it isn't delightful. Now, Donald Trump, I would also argue now, the Donald Trump before Ivanka married Jared, isn't Josh doing a wonderful job? We're so proud of him buying Lakers for the purpose. What the unreported, I know this is getting far afield. Where I was just say, hey, I was just enjoying the part about the racists. Why can't what are we talking about? The freaking Magic Johnson? No, Josh, the Kushner the younger, and Bob Iger are in the process of buying the Los Angeles Lakers. I kind of hope that Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, will figure out some way to say that it's anti-competitive and try to put a cock block on that purchase, because it couldn't happen to two nicer guys. But I'm I'm more concerned about what he's doing with Warner, and we'll stay focused on that issue. But Josh, who is thought of as the better brother between he and his older brother Jared. Josh, when he was at Harvard Business School, he started a company that was designed to fleece people signing up for Obamacare. And what he would do is get people to sign up, and then he would it's kind of like redlining, and he would chop all the people that were perhaps not hale and healthy, and so he would sign up people through the portal, like his company, into the portal. Only ones that were of a certain had certain admirable health characteristics. It was pretty messy, but he was the younger brother, and he made a billion first out of the two brothers. Now, is there anything about billionaires that's a heartwarming story? No. Is it doubly frustrating when we know that their father hired the prostitute to sleep with his brother-in-law so he could videotape it and show it to his own sister? That's the Kushner family that we know and love, because it's all Kushner, it's all Jersey. And that also, just as a cherry on top of the sundae, that home in Jersey is also where Benjamin Netanyahu was an overnight guest on numerous occasions. So, yes, it is a very small world. It's almost incestuous. It's so small. But yeah, so let's get back to Sebastian, and we'll get the heck out of here. It's Saturday after all. Uh, so he remains a special assistant. He has his exact security clearance status right now is certainly it's insufficient. Has he actually failed anything? And Donald Trump just waved him through. It's like the guy at the club, the bouncer, the manager comes out, guy's a little bit drunk, but he's got 4 Rolexes on and 9 girls with him, and he's the brother-in-law of the owner. Then he just, like that, and they open up the ropes and they let him in. That could be certainly why he didn't get waved through in the first administration. He could have been just operating in the background. He was with Hudson for a while. They weren't a direct contributor to Project 2025, but they were part of that ultra right wing white Christian nationalist intelligentsia that was led by Heritage, that did put together the Project 2025. And lo and behold, old Sebastian, Hungarian. So he's one of the he and Melania are the two ones that if Stephen Miller was running drunk through the White House and he heard either of them talk, he's like, call security, because there are 2 foreigners here loose in the White House, and one of them is married to the president, whatever her prior role was with Jeffrey Epstein, whether she was a paid informant or just a paid entertainer. And Sebastian Gorka is still well paid. His direct report is much further to the east than Washington, D.C. So the constant flow of information, of data, analytics, if you can buy all the secrets for $100,000, Vladimir Putin's getting a great discount, which is free. Coincidentally enough, so is this podcast. Coincidentally enough, so is subscribing. So if you would please, nice segue. For a Saturday, not bad. You could subscribe to this channel. It is free. You could leave a note. You could, in fact, restack this here very episode and say, hey, I don't know if this guy's working hard, but he says some pretty crazy ass shit. So maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you won't. Talks a little much, a little bit long. Anything you want to say about it is great with me. But the restack part just gets it in the hands of other people, and then gets, again, free subscribers. I'm working diligently on my AI talent acquisition crossover element, but that won't be ready till September. But I'm plugging away. So just do your part and enjoy. There's so much going on that look. if you look back in this feed to either earlier this morning or late last night, there's Angie Dixon, the tremendous superhero champion, originally from Duval, from Jacksonville, Florida, who won that surprising upset as a DSA member in Florida. Now she's got a tough road to hoe, and she's going to have tens of millions of dollars of APAC money thrown against her. But the most delightful part of her, I was going to say tweet, I think it was actually originated on this platform, excuse me, no, it was a TikTok, that she has a little reading room in her district where all of the banned books, the books that Florida's illustrious governor, who is thankfully term limited, Ron DeSantis. They at that point, Florida had banned more books for kids than any other state in the country, even Oklahoma. And so she put together a little reading room with all of the banned books, some other books, some free tutoring, and free coffee for kids, because she knows that banning books, banning rewriting history, she knows more about it than I do, because she has a much healthier skin tone than yours truly. She's absolutely freaking fantastic, and pink never looked any better on another human being, and just everything good. So if you don't follow, and I don't know if she's on Substack. I just saw that on TikTok. But what a magnificent young leader, with endless energy and fighting for all the right things. We're grateful to have her. So get out there and support. But while you're doing that, just restack this here thing. And if you can get some people in your friend group to just subscribe for free, then you'll be doing me a great solid. So, yeah, thank you. And have a good day. Tomorrow's Sunday. Will I, won't I? Don't know yet, but I probably will, because I can't shut up. And wishing you all a beautiful day. I'm going to somewhat cloudy day in beautiful northern Massachusetts. Cool. And now it is time to frolic with the four-legged assassin in the park, because his mommy's away, so the boys are going to play. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for your time, and subscribe, restack, tweet, share it on your Facebook feed, for God's sake, for heaven's sake. Or what is it that your boy JD Vance says? When he's lying, he says something like "for heaven's sake" or something. It's his tell. If you're ever at the table with him in Vegas, he'll give it away, because he's just that kind of self-absorbed fucking dope. So thanks, and enjoy your day. Thank you.